Welcome to Photographiliac. Yes, Quest of the Art Life podcast has now been rebranded, if you don't already know, by Photographiliac. And I wanted to talk about that, about rebranding. And it's easy, I think, to continue on with an idea, whether it be a name, visuals, even just a picture that's continuously used as your branding. That maybe even over time, just a change up is necessary. I think a full name change is more, of a unique situation. You don't want to be changing your name all the time because obviously that's going to cause confusion. But if you put something through its paces and you're just feeling a little off on it, or if you're maybe getting some feedback about it, especially I think if you're getting feedback from people who you trust and are supporters of what you're doing. And I had Quest Art Life for quite some time, and it turned into the podcast at the beginning of the year. So it was pretty much a 11 and a half month run as Quest of the Art Life. And when I decided to do a second podcast, and it was one of those things where I didn't realize I wanted to even do I wasn't thinking of rebranding. I was thinking of launching a second podcast. And when I was going through those steps to do that, and I realized that the company that I use, I can't have multiple podcasts the way that I want to do it, the way I see things moving forward. And so, and at first I was fine. I was like, I'm gonna put Photographiliac within Quest of the Art Life, so it's gonna be a mini audio series within it. And I posted content saying that, and I immediately got feedback about the word Photographiliac, and that got me thinking a lot. I was like, to get messages about the title. That's one. How many people are really going around messaging people, "Hey, this title is amazing. Hey, this title is amazing." If you're getting that feedback, I think that's kind of a rare thing, to be honest. With all the social media, all the content that's being put out there, for people to send you messages about that specific thing, about a name, I think it's something to kind of open your eyes on and like really pay attention to. And I hadn't thought of just changing it because I was going to just make a second podcast, and I was like, well, okay, this idea I'll just put into the mini-series. And I was like, well, why do I even have to do that? I was just like, why not just change the podcast? I think it makes total sense. If the community and supporters of the podcast are really digging that other name, I think that only makes sense going forward to get more people on board with the podcast and just creativity in general, with photography. And I feel like it's a lot, especially after doing it. I felt really inspired by the action, which is kind of weird. You know what I mean? I think it's like one of those things when you put in a lot of work into something and then you realize, wait, this change can actually be for the better, which I think this 100% is. You start thinking of like, all right, this does make sense. Like when you go from a Quest of the Art Life to Photographiliac, that's, we go from a 5-word podcast title to a single word podcast title. That in itself is huge. And when you hear Photographiliac, you think photography, so you're already zoned in on it. It's, you kind of know already, you get a gist of what it's going to be about. And obviously with the podcast and with content that I do around Photographiliac can be what it was before, as in, talking about the creative process and things that you can do artistically, going forward, or, thinking about things that you could have done, this and that, within the, the story type episodes I want to do. So to me, the podcast itself is it's just, to me, it's evolved. It's got to like the next level. I think with, and that's, and it's funny to say that just like with like a title name, but I think it's true. You know what I mean? I think, and it doesn't have, and that doesn't have to, and that does not mean like if you change a title, you're gonna feel that. I think for me, it just makes more sense. It's more of like, you know, to me, it's just like one of those things where it's just like um, it's just kind of like the best way for me to explain it's like a kind of like a weird wake up call in a way, creatively. So this could be anything. This could be just a change in the way you make a podcast, and that's also what I wanted to do too. Is I want to make the episodes better quality. I think once I made this shift to Photographiliac, I only want to record it at least with the. I've always say record with the best thing you have. So I record a majority of previous episodes with like just in earbuds, like in a vehicle cruising. And if I have to do it that way, I'll do it that way because I've done it that way, obviously, many times before. But generally, I mean, if not every time, I really want to have a good sounding podcast. So I kind of got things more set up to where I can easily do that. I do want to end up picking up like a Zoom microphone, or not microphone, audio recorder, which is like a very, you know, high quality portable device. So if I do want to do those road trip type podcasts, the quality is going to be way better. And so that's kind of on my list of things to kind of snag up at some point. Maybe like the Zoom I forget which one, it's H4n or something like that, I think that's what I'm looking into. But yeah, so I think just like really think about the podcast and going forward and blending Photographiliac with my content, because I was doing with the Quest of the Art Life, and when I blend with my own stuff, I use it as like I'm on a quest of living the art life, you know. So I was able to kind of piece it together in that way. But I think when my own photography work is, you know, side by side with Photographiliac content, it makes way more sense. I think it's you know what it is. You know, there's no like wondering like Quest of the Art Life, you know, what does that mean? You know, that can mean different things for different people. But you know, this new title is more of, you know, more of like a definite type thing. And I just want to thank everyone who's tuned in to the podcast. I don't know, I was saying it in recent episodes where just seeing the numbers is, I mean, I appreciate it. It's super rad. It gets me so hyped. And now I want to get back on getting more podcast episodes out. I already have, I have my next story pretty much, I'd say 90% outlined. I may even be able to record it today. If it's ready, I mean, I'll post tomorrow. You know what I mean, I'm not trying to hold on to it for anything special. But I have the outline on that almost done, and I have a couple more just regular podcast episodes that I want to do. I want to kind of get more in tune with just things that I've done creatively that may help you out, you know, that type of thing, and just more stories about photography too, and even like in the sense of like just my own stuff. Yeah, I mean, my own examples or things that can maybe help you out, not necessarily like the full-on stories of like special episodes. And I don't think and that's where I was like wondering, should I have another name for it? And I'm not gonna mess with another name. I think when I have like a I'm just gonna call it like a, you know, story time episode or something like that. You know, when it's like a discussion about a topic, I'm just gonna post it. I'm not gonna think anything crazy about it to like making new, you know, a mini series within it. It's just gonna go along with this podcast, and I'm hyped for it. You know, so again, I want to thank you for tuning into this podcast. If you want to help support the podcast, if you go to photographiliac.com, that actually takes you to my Patreon, which is patreon.com/bsmitty. And I have it all set up, and there's gonna be special content in there. I'm gonna do special podcast episodes specifically for Patreon, and there's gonna be archive photos, videos of just out in the streets, like current videos that are deleted scenes from videos I'm currently making, just a bunch of extra content. And the other thing I want to do within there, which is actually something I'm going to be doing here after I'm done uploading this podcast episode, is get my Discord all set up. And I want to do like community type things within Patreon, and that could maybe lead into figuring out maybe some type of photo like club or something within that to post on the Photographiliac socials and that type of thing. So I have an Instagram for this podcast. It's Photographiliac Pod, and so hit me up on Instagram. I think the Twitter is Photography Pod. It's so funny. I'm just now trying to remember. These are just because Photographiliac is doing it with Photographiliac Pod is too long on Twitter. So yeah, I think it's just Photography Pod. But on Instagram it's for sure Photographiliac Pod. You'll be able to find me. You'll know where it's at. I got the cover art for the podcast is the profile pics on those social platforms. So it's the crazy driving down the street, streaming, all the lights blazing by. So again, thanks. I appreciate the support. Again, that's patreon.com/bsmitty. And stay tuned for this upcoming story. It's gonna be great. I'm actually gonna give you a little sneak of what the episode is about, and it's photography and a UFO sighting. Thanks for the support.